This is the Crash Canon podcast. I am the host, Chris. Yet again, I'm usually always here. But if I'm not, it's still the Crash Canon podcast. And I have yet another guest today. Who are you? What do you do?
Hey, my name's Dino Anthony, Art of Purpose at Creation 24/7 on X. Run the Masterclass community, have about close to 500,000 followers across all social media. Been online. I'm a professional social media strategist, whatever that means. But I'm also a Catholic, and I'm here to talk to you guys about social media algorithms.
Absolutely. It's gonna be some interesting conversations because most of the time we don't get into the algorithm on here. It's usually we're fighting with the algorithm, but today we're actually going to talk about it. So that'll be fun. And so I got to ask though. So where did your profile picture originate from on Twitter?
Oh, the Brad Pitt thing. Okay. Yeah, man, absolutely. So, just a little bit of a background on ourselves. I was a public school teacher back in 2020, and COVID hit, and I taught band. I lost all of my classes.
You taught band?
Yeah. I used to actually teach band
nice.
Way back in the day. I'm a musician, actually. So that's like the art of purpose part. And so studied music for a long time, have a master's degree in music and music education. And my classroom got shut down in 2020. So I was home, and let's go back in time. 2020, it was ugly. It was a terrible time. This was around May of 2020. And we had been home for like 2 months, had no idea what even to do from my job. So I was just watching the news, right? Everybody was glued to their TV sets, unfortunately. Yep. And it was depressing. It was a dark time. And so I had recently, I have a whole past before this where I actually was not Catholic for a long time. I actually came back into the church recently.
You were baptized originally Catholic though, right?
Right. I was baptized originally Catholic when I was an infant, and I went to Catholic school, but where I grew up, it wasn't really. I know, right?
I went to Catholic school.
I went to Catholic school. Insert worst take. I'm sure I'll have plenty of it, but but that actually helped save me along the way. But back in 2020, I started my account, and what I had done for a long time is I had studied psychology for a long time, and I was on what was known as Twitter at the time for a long time as well. And when I was on Twitter, I started back in 2012, just consuming content. Twitter was a lot different than it is today.
Oh yeah.
A lot different, guys. It was mostly like self-improvement, financial, a lot of health type stuff. And a
lot of musicians too. There's a lot of artists posting their stuff when they would launch albums and whatnot.
Yeah, like Zuby, right? Like he got big from all of that. And so I had been consuming content there for so long, and I became financially independent due to a lot of the information that I learned about on that site, because I was an investor at the time. And so just on the side, I'm a man of many hats. So I started my Twitter account because I had received so much from Twitter that I wanted to pay it back in a way. And on top of that, I was so tired of turning on the TV and consuming all of this depressing content that's out there. So I was figuring why not just start an account and put some goodness out in the world, share some beauty, share some art, share some good things. And I actually started to talk about, my account really started talking about personal finance and psychology was what I initially started to talk about, because I had studied that for years and years and years and years before that. And I would share artwork with all of this, and the account blew up. It was an extremely popular account back when it got 10,000 followers extremely quickly. And so the Brad Pitt picture comes from the idea that, it's kind of like Andy Warhol, right? Andy Warhol made all of those really ridiculously, he made some good art, but he made some really bad art, like that pop art. And so I wanted people to see themselves through celebrities, because celebrities have this mimetic energy to them, and people relate to them. I know that's hard to believe, but some people do. And so I put him in a general outfit, and I put him back in that 18th century outfit, because I wanted people to see more of them through themselves from the lens of beauty as well. So that's why I decided to pick the Brad Pitt thing. It's extremely relatable. It's funny. People think it's funny. So the whole account took off. The whole premise for the account took off. And that's what I do today. I actually work online all day long.
Yeah, and you took a similar approach to your Substack because you're using I think it's your face, right? I'm assuming that's your face.
Right. Well, I started with the Brad Pitt one when I first started. So I was pressured to start on Substack. I was the Tim Pool. Oh man, that's rough. But I can see that as well.
Hey, to be fair, a lot of people yell at me about the beanie.
He's got a beanie too. Okay. All right. So but mine's green because I'm celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Okay.
Yeah, he was smarter than I was. He actually was in line with the feast day for the St. Patrick.
So when I oh man, where were we on this? I got distracted for a
second. When you created your Substack, I think we were talking
about the Substack. There. Yeah. So we had a Substack. I created this and I was under pressure from the Culturist, right? He's got one of the hottest Substacks out there right now. It's doing extremely well. And Cultural Explorer to start mine because I had been collecting emails online for so long because I also sell stuff online. And the emails, I just transferred all my emails in the Substack and we hit number 2 in business like within a couple weeks, and created a pretty cool movement over there. But I use myself on Substack because it's a different kind of environment. It kind of reminds me of like old Twitter. I would have gone with my own account. Like people ask like, well, why don't you have 350,000 on X. Why don't you just use you? Well, because that account is so hot. Like Elon replies to it, retweets it, comments under it, likes posts. We do about 1 million impressions per day on average from that account. So nothing's not working with it. Like it does extremely well. And it helps. It's really like a lead for our community as well. And we share some really cool information there. So there's never been a reason to do that, but I always like having the personal aspect of it as well. I would have started as myself with my name if I wasn't like already a public school teacher at the time. So like, I know there's a lot of criticisms with Catholics where it's like, I understand how social media works. So it's like, anonymous or having a profile where you are public facing, but for most people, they can't become public accounts because, they cite a lot of people have in their contracts. And when I was a teacher, I had this in my contract. It's like, if you have your name on your social media page and you say something that the district doesn't like or something, or your boss doesn't like, and a lot of you have this in your contracts, they can fire you for no reason based off of what you say on social media.
Yep.
And so why would you risk that for, every man must understand risk from a certain perspective. So why would you risk that? For me, I just wanted to share some cool art and say some really cool things. When I first started my account with the Art of Purpose, I had no idea it was going to become as popular as it was. And it was going to have so much success as we've had from it as well. I had no idea that like within a year I would be retired from my job because it was doing so well. So the aspect of it where, guys, you can do whatever you want. At the end of the day, you're gonna measure risk. You're gonna be able to figure out what you can do. And for a lot of people, some people live in countries where, I've had guys come to me from the UK being like, hey, I want to get started in your community. I want to start an anonymous account. Do you have any suggestions for me? I go, absolutely. Let's talk about it. Because people live in countries and they don't all have the same kind of rights that we do in America.
Right. That is a huge problem with the online community. But I think the safest bet, if you're an American and you're starting an anonymous Twitter account, just assume that at some point, whoever your employer is may see what you're posting.
Oh, just assume that it is, especially if you're using their computers to post.
Don't do that.
Especially if you're using their stuff. You should just assume that you're reading your stuff. So make it, that's why I tell people, go with some anonymous account, have some really great ideas and share them with the world. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
And one thing that I don't think people really recognize is a lot of public facing personalities will have a burner account for all their hottest takes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Right. I mean, we all have alts and stuff like that. So it's like everybody has burner accounts and everybody, it's not a big deal at all. Absolutely.
No, it's not. Like people will use, I remember back in YouTube, like early YouTube, like 2010 or whatever, they would get so mad when somebody would use an alt account to go to different videos and make comments and stuff because it was like they were trying to hide their identity. But obviously that's what you want to do when you're posting your hottest takes, because those hottest takes can come back to haunt you.
Right. And we were actually talking about this too, right? About how we were talking before the cameras were rolling, we were talking about hot takes and stuff like that, and about how a lot of that does have more of an opportunity to go viral, right? Like
Oh yeah.
everyone knows this, right? But, there's a lot of nuance to this as well, because, I've been studying attention on the internet for a long, 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 long time. And so I'm actually at the point right now where I wake up in the morning and just decide, are we going to create a viral post today? Right. I even
Yeah.
know not only this is like, we have it down to such a science where we even know what kind, if it's going to get primarily likes, primarily comments, primarily retweets, quote tweets, community noted, how people are going to respond to it a certain way. Because once you study attention and once you understand psychology at a certain level, all of this becomes predictable. And so here's the thing that a lot of people, I get a lot of this, right? People always want to know, like, what's the secret to the algorithm? What's like the secret to the algorithms and all of these things? The secret to the algorithm is to understand human nature itself. Okay.
Yep.
Because the internet, it runs on technology, but it actually really runs on psychology, right? It runs more on psychology. It's just a reflection of who we are and the people that we are. There's no like magic to it. It's just human nature. That's all to it as well. So, this is something that we've been studying for a long time. All of these things are predictable. And we've talked about this before. I was just on Redeem Zoomer's podcast, actually. All right.
Yep.
So
I did listen to that. That's how I knew you were a Catholic from the get-go.
Right.
You guys talked about that a little bit.
Right.
And the Catholic school thing. So
right. Well, we could talk about a lot of things, but one of the things that we talked about specifically on Redeem Zoomer's podcast is that the internet has created millions and millions of Plato's caves, right?
yes.
And so if you guys are familiar with the Plato's cave concept, it is that there's this is thousands of years old. It's from Plato. He has a thought exercise where there's prisoners that are chained in a cave and they're facing a wall, and behind them there's a fire with shadows casting shadows onto a wall. And so eventually these people believe that the shadows are what reality is. And so the way that social media algorithms work, and I'm just telling you, this is something that I do for a living and I study this, and we can create viral content on demand, is that at a certain point, right, it's been scaled. The Plato's cave has been scaled to an industrial size level. Scott Adams talked about 2 movies on one screen, right? This was a concept he talked about, right? But what we now have now is when we are using our phones, right? The social media algorithms are so complex that every single person is served a different one, right? One that reinforces their own ideas, their own biases, their own cognitive biases, and keeps them in their own personal reality. So what we have now is millions upon millions, billions of Plato's caves. Each person's Plato's cave is different as well. And what this does, right? It makes you think that however you're reacting to the world is whatever is reality, right? It's just totally skews with our entire perception of human nature itself.
Yeah, that whole concept is interesting to me because I've always understood that there are silos online. Everybody has their own like siloed community, and each community shall not actually interact unless the algorithm decides that you're ready to react with one of these other silos. And occasionally you get a tweet so bright that all the silos have nothing better than to see it and interact with it. And it's very rare that a small account gets something like that. But then when they do, I've seen some accounts with like 10 followers get 50 million looks at one tweet because they posted something that was just so obvious. Like what you're saying, the algorithm is predictable, but with these small accounts, it's almost like it's a total accident, like lightning in a bottle, and they capture it one time. And
you only have something if you can replicate it on demand, right? So if you don't really have anything if it is a one-time thing. So when we have something we were talking about this. What does even viral going mean? And by the way, I get this a lot too. I've had like other Catholics come up to me and be like, going viral just to go viral is a sin and stuff like that. Okay. I don't believe that that's the case. If you understand what you are there to do and what your purpose is, and you have a calling to what you're doing, or you have an idea about what you are going to do, it is not. And there are plenty of people who say, and we can talk about this later too, as well, that we should be using technology. And I have good news for people. Like it's a lot more hopeful than people should think. Like I have a lot of good news. I think Christians are set to dominate the internet if they don't get in the way of themselves. But it's almost inevitable. It's 100% inevitable. And I'm going to tell you why, like as somebody who's been studying later on, I'll get to this.
I think the important part is intent, right? If your intent is simply to make money and that's the only reason you're doing it, then I mean there might be a sinful thing there. But if your intent is to spread,
I don't even think if it is just to make money, right? Like if your intent is to just make money so that you can sell a book to help support your family, there's no difference.
I meant like
Yeah.
exorbitant amounts of money
Yeah.
for no other reason than to like greed, essentially. If your purpose is greed, then yeah. If your intent is to make money, provide for your family, and maybe evangelize a little bit, then why not go viral? Like if you can figure out the algorithm, then do it.
Right. And people are going to have to see a certain thing, right? It's like the way that I say it's like I would rather have them see my stuff or your stuff than like most of the AI slop that's already dominating the internet, correct?
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
so if somebody is if we're serving something up into Plato's cave, we might as well make it something that that is through our intentions, right? So there's a lot of that with like, is this bad? Is this no, like if you're practicing and you're doing all of the right things and you have an intention and you have reasons behind that, I don't see this. And I think there's a little bit of fear to it, right? And the knowledge of it isn't even sinful as well. You have to understand that everything that people see shapes them for who they are on the internet, right? Like your soul is shaped, you as a person is shaped, and like not to mention with every single thing that you put out into the world, you are shaping the world, right?
Yep.
So if it's not you shaping the world, it's going to be AI slop occultist or whatever who has more of a desire to dominate the internet than you do, that's going to wind up doing all of these things. So if you don't understand it, somebody else will. And understanding influence is not manipulation. It is understanding technology. It's understanding human nature. To me, it's actually the responsible thing to do for those who are capable of doing it.
I do think it's interesting that you bring up the occult influence and going viral and whatnot, because what I have noticed, and even like Catholics complain about this a little bit, is when you get an exorcist, like say Father Ripperger or Rehil or these various exorcists that are on podcasts, and it's like, you know what? I'd rather somebody listen to an exorcist talk about the occult than somebody into the occult talking about the occult, because at least there's a positive influence there when it's somebody like one of these famous priests who's an exorcist, as opposed to some dude with a goat tattoo on his face.
Most of the people who expose the occult online are part of the occult. Like, I guess people don't realize that. Like, that is probably 90% of them. So when I saw his interview, was it on the Sean Ryan show?
Yep,
that was fantastic. I was glued to my TV or my screen. I was glued to my Plato's cave for like 4 hours. But I agree. It's who else? If it's not going to be, it's going to be someone that's going to be on someone's screen, right? Yep. So you need to understand it. You need to be able to understand human nature, and you need to be able to replicate it, and you need to be able to have the will to be able to do that as well. So, yeah, absolutely.
I do think there's another aspect to it, is like, people are very quick to call something slop, even if they don't understand it. So like if a bunch of really big popular accounts are all doing the same trend, but they're doing it in a way that's kind of malicious or have ill intent, and then somebody with good intent does the same thing and they go viral as well, I actually think it's good, because it kind of changes where the direction of that trend or that meme or that thing is going. Does that make sense?
Right. Memes are meant to be taken, and it's a template, right? So you can take it, you can put it, you can spread your word in it or whatever it is. It's totally fine to do that. I think that there's a little bit like of a crab in the barrel mentality, where it's like, oh, one guy does well, then people like really got upset when I was sharing, is this a win? Like I got like really carried away with it on purpose. Like I just kind of wanted to like see how far we could go with this. But the first time I shared it, right, like, is this a win, right? And now Elon Musk liked one of the posts. Like, do you know what I mean? And now he's with us a year later, having conversations on our timeline about this. Like, I mean, I'm realistic about where we are with this, but like, at least it's furthering the conversation. And just by him engaging with it allows more people to see it as well. I think a lot of the people who go, oh, this is slop or whatever. I've heard that with myself. I've heard that with like Trad West or something like that as well. It's like, oh, this is slop. Most of you guys aren't. If you're saying that, you're probably not the target audience, right? Like And so I think the big problem with Catholic creators, okay, this is a really serious problem, is they're all creating content for Catholics, right?
Yeah.
And it's absolutely ridiculous. I call it zero, it's no influence, right? It's absolutely no influence in the world. 95 to 99% of the Catholic creators who are there are, you know why they make content for other Catholic creators? Because they're scared. Okay. I'm being serious about this. They don't really have the cojones, right? I'm being for real. They are in a little bubble and they want to sling mud against other Catholic creators, and because they feel safe doing this, right? It actually it takes some whats to actually go out there and evangelize the world. It takes some guts to be able to go out there and create a piece of viral content that's going to get you death threats, like some of those have for me, right? Because people see it and they know that it has an influence and they know that it moves the needle, even if it is something that is boring to you, right? It may be to someone else. Someone else's Plato cave might free them from the chain and be like, oh,
Yeah.
wow, I've never realized it was like this, or I have this complete perception of this. Think about how many misconceptions there are about Catholics in this world, right?
There's a lot of them.
All your fault. It's all your fault for not having conversations with people outside of your bubble. People don't, when they talk to me, they don't have these misconceptions. But when they deal with a lot of people who just sling mud with a lot of other other denominations, just triggering them, like just trying to, not really arguing in good faith. And this isn't just Catholics who do this too. Okay, like I'm not stupid.
No. Everybody does this.
This is a lot of people. But when you're going after those things, it doesn't really improve the situation. It doesn't evangelize anyone. And I actually really believe this. I think Christian content. So I'm in a lot of I'm not in the Christian content niche. I consider myself a content creator online who's Catholic, not somebody who creates Catholic content. I don't talk theology. I don't talk about anything. I know far more about making money online, investing, personal finance, and social media, digital strategies and stuff like that, and marketing and stuff like that. But when I go look around the Christian world today, and this is not just Catholics too, it's all like, we're going to dunk on Catholics. We're going to like take a straw man out of context thing about Catholic or Protestants.
That's right? What they do. Yep.
And then like theological like debates where it's just like two people yelling and screaming at each other.
Where you mean like 90% of the internet?
Yeah, well, it's none of it is serious. It's like all it is just who can win an argument instead of win somebody's hearts and minds, right? And you're never going to win somebody's hearts and minds if you don't have this like, hey, I understand you. You have a conversation with them. You get them to be able to, have their barriers come down a little bit for them to be able to like you get to know them and see that you actually care about them, right? So like just arguments online, this isn't any way, shape, and form. In fact, it may even get people to double and triple down into their already existing cognitive biases that have been created by their Plato's cave, right?
Yeah, if somebody steps out of the cave and immediately gets their hand sliced off, they're going back in the cave.
Right. Well, actually, in Plato's cave, the person like sees the light and just like freaks out and just wants to get back. No, for real.
Right.
So like that's part of the whole thing. So when you're building online, I think that we need to make more of and so I could talk about this for a while. Like I've come back into the church a couple years ago, and so I've been like obsessed with the popes. Okay, like I just have an obsession with it, and I just read about the popes all the time. And so I've come back into the church with a little bit of like fresh eyes, right? Back in the 90s when I was in Catholic school. But like no.
So wait, are you Gen X or millennial?
Gen X. Yeah.
Gen X. Okay.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older, but there wasn't like these kinds of, there wasn't like this whole like tradcath versus like, Vatican II and stuff like this. Like none of this stuff existed, at least not to my knowledge. Like, or like nobody ever talked about it. Like, people just did things, right? Like the regular person didn't concern themselves with like such absurd matters. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like,
know what you're saying. Yes.
Right. Like it really, and it is. And so like, I've gotten obsessed with a lot of this, and like every single Pope that I've seen back until Pope Paul VI has said, like continually, like we need to use technology, right? Here's a quote from Pope Paul VI. The church would feel guilty before the Lord if she did not utilize these powerful means that human skill is daily developing. Talking specifically about technology, right? And so are we using any of these to talk and like promote and have good faith discussions with other people? Like I run a community professionally for a living, and it's like the way that people act towards each other on the internet, they would never say that to each other in front of people's faces. So they never should say any of these things as well. Like, you know, it's really just cowardly behavior to act like that. I'm sorry, I'm going on a little bit.
No, you are saying all the things that I mean, I agree with at least 95% of what you're saying, if not all of it. And it's similar to why Kyle, who got drugged through the mud for recent stuff, but he says get within strangling distance, because then you won't touch people. You'll just talk to them, you'll have a good time, you'll find out what you have in common. That's why he has his whole conference down in Steubenville every year, which is a good thing, honestly.
Right. And it's, look, and I don't agree with what happened there, but like the whole reaction to it, like I get it. Like some people are going to have like a crazy reaction to it, right? But like dragging him through the mud and like taking shots at him and like attacking his manhood, like, I mean,
that was a stone too far.
Right. I do think it is a stone too far, because you have to think about like other people are going to see these things, and so what perception of their reality are they going to form based off like the Catholic, you know, community, right? It doesn't look good for him, and it doesn't look good for the community. So like, why even talk about these things in public? It's just not an intelligent.
Besides that, I mean, he's got the space that he has created in the Catholics, the stuff that he has in the Catholic spaces, Ipsum Audite group, has created a space for fraternal correction amongst Catholics, where you don't do this on like public online facing stuff and publicly correct your brethren in the faith, where you can do it privately in a way that you're not destroying other people.
I've built with real people on the internet, and like none of us would do any of these things in public. Like if we had a problem with XYZ, we would just shoot them a DM. In fact, if you didn't shoot someone a DM before you did something, to me, I would just use it as a form of disrespect. I would block you off personally, and I would never do any business with you ever again. Right? Like that's just how you handle business, right? So like for people to like use it as an opportunity to like, you know, shake their fist in anger at Kyle, it's like ridiculous. And, you know, here's the other thing as well. I think there's too many Catholics, right, who just want to talk to other Catholics. And the other thing is there's too many Catholics who just want to be the next Catholic celebrity. My wife, right, she came, like, we were like, it was like so bizarre, like in this world, because it was like, we just want to do, here's me. I just want to go to mass. Like, I just want to go pray. I just want to, you know, I just want to be left alone, man. Like, you know, like at a certain level, right? But like, there's so many people who are like, I want to be like the next thing, or da 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 da. I never came into this business wanting to like be the next thing. I just wanted to like help people out and like do things. I wound up making a lot of money from it. Like, you know, that's great. But like at the same time, it's like I never like one of the reasons. So you're like, I never wanted to be I never want to be a celebrity, right? Like, you know, I don't want to be a celebrity. I have no ambition to be a celebrity.
Well, if you did, you would have used your picture from the get-go to show everybody who you are and be famous, right? Instead, you're using a different person's picture on your biggest account. So like clearly you're not like trying to have your identity be famous.
I don't care about that at all. Like, you know, yeah. But hey, I want to talk about this because like I know I'm coming hard in the paint on some things. But I want to present this idea to you because I've lived on both sides of the fences. I was an atheist for a long time. Okay, I was like one of those guys that was watching, you know, Carl Sagan and da 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 da.
The red pill and the new atheist movement were super popular, especially when I was in college and between 2011 and 2015. Those movements were huge when I was in college. Everybody wanted to be part of that because that was kind of cool at the time. And then we realized it was all a bunch of fluff and meant nothing.
Right. It's just all brainwashing. It's just all brainwashing right now. But I want to like, you know, talk about how atheists operate versus Christians, right? Yep. Because I'm somebody who studied algorithms for a long time and stuff like that. And I understand, you know, I've explained this. It's like, I can predict whether a post is going to get tons of likes, tons of retweets, tons of comments, just by the way it's positioned, right? Mm-hmm. Like for instance, if a post is going to get a lot of likes, right? What it needs to do is it needs to like, you look at it, it makes you feel really good, puts a smile on your face, you start nodding your head yes. And the way that you resolve that emotion is by hitting the like button, right? It's whatever emotion is flowing through you that winds up in a predictable result that's going to propel a certain piece to a certain aspect to it. Or like, for instance, I say something that is just kind of a little outrageous, right? Or like this is or something that's like 80%
you lead
true.
with the outrage, and then you finish it with the things they agree with, and you're like, okay, fine, I agree with you.
Right. Or like a way to get people to discuss a certain thing is to like leave something blank at the end, or like say, 80% true. Like, yeah, this is true. And like, of course, right. So how do people have to resolve that? They have to fill in the blank, right? They
Yep.
either leave a comment, right? And let you know how smart they are in the comment section, or they have to they need to one up you so much that they're going to quote tweet you, because they need to put their dissertation inside of this, that they wind up showing it to their audience. It's like, and when you really know you have someone triggered is when somebody has to leave a community note on one of your pieces. Like that means they literally had to work like for hours to get a certain score on X to be able to like have us be able to like leave community notes. Then they're going to go in there, write it, finds a source, right, and then put it out there. It's like, man, somebody took like 20 minutes out of the day just to like let me know how much they didn't like this particular post. But because of that, it gets shown more. That's just how social media algorithms works. Well, what does this have to do with atheists? Okay. And why do Christians have a massive advantage? There's something different about the way that Christians view the world. Okay. I mean, obviously, right?
There better be, right? Because otherwise, what's the point?
Would you say your average Christian is more passionate about life than the average atheist, or less?
Way more.
Way more. Right. Okay. Right. And so their concept for how the world works, right? So like we believe in the Trinity, right? We believe mind, body, soul, right? All of these things. Just because of that recognition, we understand how human existence really exists, right? Is a way for us to be able to be fueled by some of that, like the Holy Spirit itself, right? You have the Holy Spirit running through you. You're going to be able to get a little more engagement on your posts, because there's so much fire behind what you're posting and what you do in life, right? There's just more flowing through it, right? Your average atheist is dead inside, right? Hey, I'm being serious.
I'm picturing like James Lindsay right now, just for the record.
James Lindsay, if he wasn't propped up, I'm just gonna stop. If James Lindsay wasn't, whatever, okay. You know what? I'm just going to stop. But he has.
No, I get what you're saying. Here, I'll finish your thought. You can either agree or disagree or say nothing. But James Lindsay somehow got propped up by all the right people at a time when his opinions were all on the right side of history.
Yeah, right side. So you have guys like James, right? But this is why you shouldn't fear any of them, because think about that. Your average guy, even atheist, isn't even as tuned into the world as James himself. They're just going through life. They don't really believe anything. They don't really have any values. Truth is something that is, truth is something that you can just say, yeah, truth and beauty, whatever, there's no standard for any of that. Sure. Whatever. They're just going through life going, using that mantra that it is what it is, right? Meanwhile, Christians, they have a grounded idea. This is how the world is shaped. This is who I am. There is a result for every single action that I do. Social media algorithms, right? Christianity gives people meaning, purpose, a mission, moral clarity, right? And because of this, all of the believers who are on the internet comment passionately. They share their ideas with the world. They build communities and they defend the truth, right? They're not just cynical observers who are out there in the world. They're actual creators in the world just by their nature, because they feel that they need to do X, Y, Z. So this is the beautiful part, right? All of these I was going to say tech nerds, all right? But I'm going to be really nice about this. These guys.
I was going to say tech geeks instead. No.
So let's talk about the future of the internet here, okay? So why is this so important? Why is it so important for us Christians to really defend the truth and be passionate on the internet? Well, and get outside of our bubbles, okay? Well, I was listening to one of Pope John Paul II. It was his initial speech that he gave when it's his famous one, "Be not afraid" speech, right?
Yep.
Open up your arms wide for Christ, right? But it's also a call to action. That whole speech, I've listened to the whole thing, is a call to action for evangelization, right? And he says something really interesting, specific. He doesn't wear the papal tiara during that, by the way. It's really interesting. And he says why is because
I think Paul VI was the last one to actually wear it.
Right, but he actually didn't wear it when he came there, and then he said why, right? and he says that the structure of power needs to change in this world, right? And what we need to do is evangelize the leaders in our countries. Okay.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Specifically, right? And so it's kind of like saying, look, we need to work a little bit harder at this and evangelize the world, specifically our leaders. And now look at this. Have we done any of that? Now look at the shape that we're in, because nobody really wanted to do those things, right? Like how many of our leaders really are tuned into Christ?
Not many.
None, right?
Well, and the other side of the coin is the ones that are tuned into Christ in their own way. A lot of them are Protestants with very strange or heretical views on things, and so it's hard to agree. For example, I've seen a lot of people crashing out on Ted Cruz lately because he's got some very strange thoughts on Zionism and whatnot. So, like, there's a lot of varying opinions. So, what you really want is to find common ground with these people where you can all agree on foundational aspects of Christianity, and hopefully lead them to the one true faith. But at the same time, you want them to also have a serious and respectful relationship.
Right. I'm trying to think of even more of the scope of just other Christians right now.
Yeah.
So we take a look at our leaders. You take a look at Trump. You take a look at Elon Musk. Right. These people must be evangelized. The future of our world depends on this. It does. The future of our world depends on whether or not these people believe in Christ down the road. And I'm really serious about this. I've spent time, part of my journey, I've been invited to a lot of places, a lot of spaces. I spent some time actually getting to know AI Microsoft engineers back in the early 2020s, right? I was invited to meet them. And I can tell you when I met them, they were, I would say, not the most moral people in the world. Okay. This is one of the reasons why I actually came back into Catholicism, is because I met a lot of these people who are building the internet. And I actually have seen what they say, how they just treat people, and how they operate, right? Like, they look at everything, and then this is hard for Christians to understand, right? But I'll just tell you, they look at every single human being as a little little dot, a number and a zero on the ledger. Okay,
everything's something to make money off of.
Yes, every little thing, not only from a money perspective, but even worse, and the reason is they just don't have any moral framework to them, right? They have zero moral framework. They weren't raised in any Christian cultures. And so their system is all about getting people addicted to the internet, right?
Yes.
And they've studied them to such a degree. So for instance, when I was talking to these engineers, they were bragging about how they've created AI algorithmic content. This was back even before people even knew it was happening. On TikTok, right? And they were just bragging about how they can just ad nauseum create millions and millions and millions and millions of views, getting people addicted to just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and scrolling at the internet. And so you have to remember this. The people who are leading these organizations, the engineers behind them, the leaders of our country, they don't care that, we're designing a structure that takes advantage of everybody's worst impulses, right?
Yep. It's like a casino in your pocket.
Right. Because there's, why not? Right. So, so the way that they had in mindset too is if it just keeps scrolling, fine, whatever, it works. And so, as I said earlier, the thing that we need to use to our advantage is the energy that we have flowing through us as Christians, as the passion that we have flowing through as Christians, as the truth and the convictions that we have flowing through us as Christians. They designed this internet, but they designed it for people who are like them. They don't understand us, because this is the beauty of it. We're going to win this war, because here's why. They don't understand us, because if they did, they would be us. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. They would. They don't understand us, because if they did, they would be us. But they don't. I understand them. They don't understand me. This is a huge strategic advantage. So they just do every little thing just for every little, get this to taste, siphon their attention. But what it is the framework that they've actually built is perfect for people who have meaning, purpose, a mission, and who have love, and who want to influence people's hearts and minds the right way. So it's ours for the taking, whether we want or not.
Absolutely. Anytime a clip from a Christian podcast goes viral, there's an opportunity for somebody who just happens to be on the periphery watching this content. Like, for example, there could be a random Father Mike Schmitz clip that goes completely viral, and all of a sudden their algorithm has now been influenced in a way that they're going to see more clips like that. And then slowly their algorithm is going to convert them to Christianity, because the algorithm is built to take your attention. So if your attention is to Christianity and Christian clips, boom, you're going to be Christian at some point.
Right. And since they don't understand how they don't believe in souls, right? Like they just believe, that's why they believe that some of these people actually like believe AI like is like a human being or is something, right? Like it has sentient.
They think it's sentient. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they really believe
AI is just an extremely sophisticated algorithm.
Right.
That's
right.
what it is.
They're projecting, right? And so they don't understand how human nature works, yet they're designing the internet, right? And they think the internet is a machine, right? But the internet is a reflection of the human soul itself, right? So what spreads online is the energy that's inside of people who are already there. That's it.
Yeah, and a lot of art is just it's beauty from the human soul in a way that's visible to the human eye.
That's exactly what it is. Yes, right. That's why you can't separate the artist and the art.
and that's why there's a thing such as objective beauty. And the way I always say, because I'm a music guy too myself, and the way you can tell that beauty is objective is play a song and play all but the last note. Your brain is going to fill that blank in. You're going to play that last note whether they play it or not, because you need resolution, and the objective beauty of the song is that resolution.
Right. Everybody can feel the tension from a fifth, right?
Yep.
You know, so, you know, that's exactly true, right? That's exactly, I agree with you 100%, brother.
And actually you can use that for the algorithm. That, like you're saying, like the fill in the blank thing, you leave something unresolved and it is the quickest gateway drug to somebody commenting on your post.
Right. But it has to be about something that they have
that they care about. Yeah.
Right. So like, you know, a lot of people, they come to me and go like, Dino, should I just ask more questions to my timeline? Not really. Like, you know, what you should do is you should talk about people want to talk about, but be able to like guide people through what they want to talk about towards what you want to talk about. Right. That's like true mastery of something. So, you know, you have to be able to have that skill over time. But you know, you have, you know, yeah, you can talk about something. I think the worst way to get engagement content is to just do it through like criticism or mocking and those kinds of things. What you should be able to do is, if you're really skilled at it, you can inspire other people to take action and become better people, right? Like, you know, that's primarily where we should be. I get it. Like criticism and sometimes like British humor. I always think sometimes it's just using like British humor to make a point might make people like, if you're going to use it as a way to kind of get someone to reevaluate their situation in the world, right? So like, what is absurdity good for? It's for getting someone to like realize that maybe like what they've been building or what they're doing is just so strange or not even the correct thing to do that they reevaluate the whole operating system. So that's it does have a point, but like if you're just doing that to get clicks, then you're probably doing the wrong thing. When I tell people to build online, you need to spend as much, if you spend any time doing like those criticisms or any of those, you need to do just as much doing what you're supposed to be doing. Like if I'm going to criticize people for hurting communities, I run a community professionally for a living. Okay. Like I have the solution. All right. Like this is what I do. Right. Like, you know, so like you can't throw stones without also being able to provide solutions as well.
Yeah. That's the hardest thing. I think people can recognize a problem, but they can't always lead you to the solution.
Right. And if you don't, then you're not really,
you're just complaining then. Yeah. Just complaining like everybody else does. Yeah. And that's actually one of the reasons why I like to have these long form conversations, because we actually get somewhere with the conversation, as opposed to like, you know, a 20-minute interview you see on the news. Like, what are you going to get out of a 20-minute interview on the news? You might get a couple hard hitting questions, but you're not going to get to know that person. Right. I want to get to know people. That's kind of the reason why this podcast exists.
Right. Absolutely, brother.
So then another question that I do think needs to be addressed is audience capture. You know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Yeah.
Like, so you're talking about like the Plato's Caves and whatnot. One of the easiest things people fall into is, okay, you got the same 5 people commenting on your posts, right? You're starting to build a small community. So you keep posting things that those 5 people like, and eventually those are the only 5 people who will ever see your posts, because you've been captured by your audience.
Right. So what do you want to know about that? Particularly like how to grow the audience?
What should people do to not become captured by their audience?
Okay. So there's a couple angles to this. the question is kind of like a little absurd because like the reason why is that you should never even approach things like that to begin with, right? So like let's back things up for a second here. So there's not
but this is a common problem. Lots of people fall into this trap. That's why
well,
I'm asking.
my question to them would be like, why are you even building online, right? So like that's why, like, if you had a reason for like why you were building online, I can't tell you if that's right or wrong, because maybe you're like, yo, I only want to have 5 people who are engaging with my posts, like da 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 da. I mean, the way that some of you guys operate, I think that that's what you guys are actually like intending to do. Like, I'm being serious about it. Like, not as
there are probably people,
yeah, because I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but if you're like, hey, I want to build like this global thing, I want people to see it, I want to influence the world, I want to do things. Well, you need to step back and see things from a different perspective. Okay. So first of all, as far as you have I'll talk one about audience building, and I'll talk about how the algorithm actually works. Okay. So first, there are multiple stages to somebody who is a follower for you. Okay. I did an interview with Zuby inside the masterclass community. He talked about this as well. I'm going to be using some of his ideas along with some of mine. So the first stage of somebody who follows you online is a follower. Okay. A follower is honestly not much. All right. You may have followers on your content. They probably don't always engage. They may like a post randomly. They might do this. It's nice to have a follower. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but it's kind of like the lowest level of somebody who is there. Okay. Now you would have another level from this, right? This is like a fan, right? This is somebody who is like, I put him on notifications. I respond back. I give him retweets. I love what they do. I get into the content. I tune in on their podcast, XYZ. So how do you get someone to go from an audience, from a follower into a fan, right? So you need to ask yourself this question, right? Well, they know your story, right? I usually say people like to do an exercise, right? Like, let's say I took 100 of your followers online and I gave them a piece of paper and I said, write down Crash Canon's origin story, who he is, what his beliefs are, why he started his podcast. Could 100 of your audience, if I randomly took them, be able to do that? If not, you haven't really built anything, right? Like, so this is one of the reasons why I'm constantly telling my story. Like, I always talk about how I started this, why I started this, what the whole point of all of this is. And I reintroduce my audience to that again and again and again and again and again. Because if you want them to be a fan, they need to feel like they know who you are and know who you are at the same time. And so now there's a third level as well, which I call customers. And I think that the Catholic space hasn't really understood this right now. I do this. We've done, again, I'm not here to brag, millions of dollars of sales online. People love our stuff. If I launch something, it sells like instantly because I have a fan base that is so rabid. Whenever I create something, they love it so much. They love my works. They love all the stuff that we do, that they just buy it, right?
Yeah.
And so how do you get someone to go from a fan to a customer? Well, they need to believe that you can provide a solution to whatever XYZ problem that you talk about. This is why I was talking about that other thing earlier about you need to not just talk about problems, you need to solve problems as well. Because people will pay you to solve problems, guys. Like, it's true. Okay. And then there's a fourth stage, which is true fans, right? And to live on the internet, you only really need about 100 true fans. These are people who are customers who will just buy whatever you put out, and they will just buy it, no matter if it's like coffee, right? Or if it's like, a course, or if it's a whatever you're doing. It could be like, it could be an ebook or something like that, or a Substack, a paid Substack, right? It could be nothing. But if you have a true fan base, they're going to just go along with you for everything and go along for the ride because they're like, hey, this is just part of the fun. So those are like the 4 stages. So if you had a guy who was just like, I have 5 people and all they do, I'd be like, what are you doing here? You're probably not even thinking big enough, because you should be. So now let's talk about like how you can expand the first part, right? Which is the followers, right? So the followers, right? You gain followers online. You can talk about how social media algorithms work, okay? From a mechanical standpoint, not from a philosophical.
Sure.
So here's how the Plato's Cave works. You might even realize this, but everybody, again, has their own customized Plato's Cave. The algorithm puts you into a bucket, okay? Crash, you're in a bucket full of like the Catholic people, the Catholic guys, it knows what you're into, it knows your tendencies, it knows whatever XYZ, and then it just feeds you anything that reinforces your cognitive bias, with occasional ones that are going to trigger you to get you engaged and give your 2 cents on. Okay.
Yep.
So how do you get a post to, so whenever you post, right, this is how the algo works on X and most social media sites. it shows it to your followers first, right? So it's going to give your followers an opportunity to engage with it. So if I send out a tweet, right, it's going to go through phase one. This is why a lot of people complain about their posts not getting a lot of views, because it never passes phase one. Okay. Phase one is when your post gets sent to the timeline. It will be sent to your followers, the ones who engage with you the most, right?
Yep.
And if they don't,
which makes sense. You want them to be the ones to see it first.
Right. But then it goes through a pass fail on this. If they don't engage with it above average from what they typically do, it won't go to the next part, right? Which is the majority, the next level of your followers. Okay. So it goes through a phase one. If your core doesn't engage with it instantly, within 24 hours or whatever it is, right? It has a longer time frame now, not instantly. I'll take that back, but through its initial phase, through first 24 hours, then it's not ever going to graduate to phase two, which is the further setback of that audience as well. Like Catholic Twitter would be like your second phase, right?
Yep.
Okay. And so then what will happen is then once it gets to phase two, and everybody's in a bucket, right? You're in like either Catholic bucket, Protestant bucket, whatever bucket, tech bucket, finance bucket, whatever it is. That's why there's so many accounts that are huge on X that you may never have seen in your life that have rabid audiences, because they never get sent to your side. Now, right. The third phase, it will start to explore people from the opposite side or the opposite viewpoint of whatever yours is, okay? Outside your bubble. Now, this is a bigger algorithmic factor than the first two, right? Because this is when a post can explode. If they start, especially if they don't follow you, right? If they start commenting and retweeting your posts, it then gets sent out to all of their audiences under a test phase as well, where then it has to start to get an escape philosophy, because now if it gets outside of one bucket, it then can go into other ones, and then you're being seen. And that's how you can get a post that can get a few million views, because once someone is engaging with your content that's outside of your bubble, algorithmically it's getting tested in others for their audience. And then once it works well with them, then now you're being seen by multiple audiences, multiple universes as well on the internet. So, for somebody who's just like, hey, I'm only getting seen by a small bit, like, you need to write about something that isn't just going to be so specific in your particular. I'm not a fan of niches. Like, I hate niches, right? The niche that I have is the art of purpose. It's Dino Anthony. I talk about so it's actually kind of funny. Like when I came back to the church, I started talking about Catholicism again, right? I was open about this, right? I sent in my emails. I was telling people about this, and people were like really taken aback. I didn't follow you for this. I followed you for all of your, and I was like, you know what? I don't have a niche. My content, everybody's content should be their life, right? Yep. It should be them. It should be their experience. It should be their take on things. It should be who they are, right? People love this, guys. People love this. They want it. Even if you're an anonymous account, you can do that. I did this as an anonymous account, right? And it was more interesting like that. So because
nobody knows who you are. So whatever you share, is what they know.
Now they're like, oh, who's this guy? Like, what it's right. So you have like an X factor to it. But even if you're a personal cat, you could do this as well. It makes you more of an interesting and a more human person. And this is how you develop true fans along the way anyway, because people really need to know who you are to really buy into what you talk about. Okay. So, you have all of these phases. You talk about who you are, and through there, that's how you're going to develop people who are really, 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 really into what you do. The danger with Catholicism on the internet has two huge barriers right now. Okay. And I'm going to say this as someone who considers himself a creator who's Catholic, not a Catholic content creator. Okay. The first barrier is that, again, like all the Catholic creators, they only want to talk with themselves. They don't really ever get outside of their bubble. They only talk. They think that every single time they need to tweet, it needs to be about whatever the goings on of the day is. Oh, the Pope said this today. Oh man, we all need to have a take on this. Like, honestly, it's how boring to me. That's boring, right? Like, I would rather.
I don't know. Pope Respecter does pretty well.
A Pope Respecter, he's cool. Pope Respecter's my boy. I love Pope Respecter. Okay,
he does pretty well.
But he
has embraced a huge niche.
Right, it is, but like that's all it's ever going to be.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's kind of at a stage where that's it. Like, and it's only influencing, which is fine because like his intention likely was to never really have anything. He's, you know, if you had told him you'd be this big when he started, he'd be happy about that. It's not like so that's why I was saying earlier, it has to do with why are you on the internet, right? Like if you're there just to, if I'm going to make an account just to defend the Pope, then that account is executing what it was made to be, right? But not every Catholic account should be that account, right? We should have accounts that go across, talk to other people, get people into what we do, talk maybe about like the beauty of Catholicism. Like War on Beauty does a really good job of being able to talk about things that gets regular people into Catholicism, right? Because they're
listen, guys, hold on, I gotta stop.
What's wrong with
Pope Respecter? Is a look, I like Pope Respecter, okay? I don't care what anybody else thinks about Pope Respecter. I like him. Okay. I talked to him a few times. Eventually, him and I are going to sit down and have a conversation. So, yes, I like Pope Respecter.
You should definitely do it, right? You should definitely.
Well, we had one scheduled last December and then didn't work out for whatever reason. I think I double booked and then we couldn't figure out a date. But this summer, it's going to happen.
But from an algorithmic standpoint, like Pope Respecter is only being seen by people who pretty much already really agree with him, or
people who really disagree with him.
Yes, right. So it's so it's only being shown to like a really small slice of the internet, right? But if you want to escape that bubble, right? If you want to actually like use the system for like how it could be fully potentially used, you need to do things that people are going to be able to go, oh, wow, that's something that's interesting. We can have a conversation about XYZ. Like if I were to talk about like Mel Gibson or something like that, or like the Passion of the Christ or something like that, that would be an opportunity for people to like be able to get involved with and start thinking about and start kind of like a gateway into other things as well. But what I'm saying is the Catholics is that you have two issues right now. Okay. You have two issues. One is that Catholics just speak to Catholics. The other one is that there's an institutional energy to it. Okay.
Yep.
Now this is I haven't come up with a solution to this one. I'm just going to point out the problem. Okay. So a lot of the things that we had with like the Catholic Creator Conference and stuff like that is that what we have right here is two intersections, right? The Catholic Church, which is the institution of all institutions, right? And therefore, like, based off of its culture, like everything is like really super institutional, like even associated creator movements along with it, right? So, but here's the thing. I come from the other world, right? Which is the creator world, right? The creator world is so institutional. It's so like, hey, we're super based rogue pirates and we're going out into the world and we're going to.
You're not wrong. Look, I spent time in that space. I know what you're talking about.
Right. And so like, you know, the Catholic Creator Conference, right? The Catholics haven't even realized this yet, is there's such a dichotomy here because it wants to be institutional, right? Like they had to remove Mike, right? Really, because at the end of the day, it was an institutional decision. Okay. You say what you want about that, right? Whatever the story is. But at the end of the day, it's an institutional decision. But you have a lot of guys like Mike who are creators on the internet. Like and how are creators? They're super based. They want to do what they want. They want to talk like they want. They want to do whatever they want. They work online for a living. They're the renegades of the world, right?
Yep.
Which is the exact polar opposite of what. So this is what the Catholic Creator Conference has to think about. It's like, well, who is it going to represent? It's the institution or the creator, right? Or the creators, right? So this is hard, right? It needs to think about what direction it's going to go in. And I know like it's hard for a Catholic to go, well, I mean, we are all representing the institution because we all are at the same time. But at the same time, to be successful online, you have to have a lot of that creator, like super based, I'm spitting facts, I'm doing my thing kind of energy as well. Yeah. And so there's a little bit of a dichotomy there. And I don't think anybody's really thought about it all that much.
Honestly, that's both a advantage and disadvantage to what I decided to do with the name of this podcast, because Crash Canon there's nothing Catholic about that title except for the fact that, you know, there is the such thing as canon law. I was originally going to be Crash Catholic, and I'm glad I didn't go that route because I think the niche would have been much more narrow than it is.
Right. Right, exactly. And so you were thinking about, but I think a lot of people, they haven't really thought about this online. So that's why you have like guys like Anthony railroading Kyle and stuff like that, because he's that creator guy, right?
Yeah, he's more of a creator.
Right. Is right. So you have creator guys like Mike and Anthony, right? They're creators, they're entertainers, right? Like, let's be real. And guys who have an audience and they want people to watch their shows, feel good, be entertained, and learn something, right? Just like all of us creators do.
Yeah.
But then at the institutional level, you have like every single, it's like HR, it's like every single decision that you're going to have to make needs to be magnified 10x because you are representing something bigger than yourself. So that's kind of where Catholic creators are at this point, is like, to be successful, you kind of you can't think along those lines. You have to be kind of rogue, but you have to, but the organizations that represent them have to represent those organizations. I don't have the solution for this yet. I'm just pointing it out.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. And I do think that people forget that things on the periphery of Catholic culture can lead people to Catholic culture. So, like, for example, I could be a podcast called, like, I don't know, Based Catholic Papist. That's going to appeal to a very small crowd of people, but some people will like that. On the other hand, I could take something as simple as Gregorian chant, create a video game with that as the intro back in 2001, and have you shoot aliens, and it could lead people to the church.
Right. Like, so
like
you
Halo.
always, yeah, right. So you always talk about, like, what is, a lot of those things. Like, let's be real, like the show The Young Pope, right? Like, you can say what you want about that. Back when I was like an atheist, I thought that was like the coolest thing I'd ever seen. I was like, oh, wow, it got me thinking about Catholicism. I was like, this is so cool. Like, I remember it. Like, I know that a lot of people but the people who are going to be evangelized by something like that aren't the same people like super based Papists, like, like, it's the people who are like, oh, wow, I haven't thought about this. Like, most normies, regular people, don't think about church ever. Like, ever. Or praying ever. Or charity ever, right? Like, they wake up, they do their job, they play some Xbox, they slam a few beers, they call it a night, and they wake up and do the next thing the next day, right?
And they're slamming coffee first thing in the morning.
And they're slamming coffee, right? That's their lives. So, like, just getting in front of them and getting their attention and getting them to, like, think about something a little bit more than just themselves can transform someone to become, it's planting a seed, right? That's really what we should be doing on the internet, is planting seeds, as opposed to like, hey, we're going to like duke it out and fight it out with ever XYZ. This is, it's just not the way to go about things.
I will say this though, no matter what avenue somebody chooses to go on, as far as entertaining, creating content, whatever, authenticity is the most valuable thing you can bring to your content. So, like, just because you can make friends with people that authentically you could not get along with, period. Like, for example, if you picked some of the wokest, most liberal people on the video game space and you started hanging out with them, like, that's not authentically who you're going to hang out with. So that's probably not going to build your content up, because you're basically lying to your audience at that point. You know what I mean? Well, so, like, I think it is important to be authentically.
It depends on what your mission and what your goal is, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
If your goal is like to eventually, like, do something with that, then it's fair game, right? Like, you shouldn't be. I think just there's a lot of people.
I'm not saying you should like be rude to these people. Like, that's not going to help. But at the same time, like, you shouldn't pretend like you're their ally when you're authentically, that's not who you are. You know what I mean?
What does an ally even mean? Like,
so, like, for example, if you post, okay, let's say that you are in like some kind of a trans community, you're posting trans flags. Like, as a Catholic, probably not authentically who you are if you're doing that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay.
However, if you're talking to these people and you're being nice to them and you're trying to bring a charitable take to them to bring them to the right side of history, the right side of the faith, that's a different story. I'm saying, like, don't post things that are authentically not you. Like, let's say, for example, you're in the military, but you're posting a bunch of anti-military content because you're like trying to fit in with.
Why would you even do that? It doesn't make sense.
There's a lot of people that do that. This is a huge. You're not a millennial or Gen Z.
No, like, I understand that, like, but
millennials do that. This is
no. I understand that people post fake stuff. Like, look, on X right now, there's a whole bunch of like third worlders who are living in India who are posting like me or $1 billion, right? And it's like this like hot woman, right? And like, you know, and it goes like gets 2 million views. I mean, obviously that's not authentic, but like I think
But
that
people eventually people
yeah,
read through
but
that
like I
eventually.
mean, it's so obvious, right? Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like
Yeah.
why would you do that, right? Like
No, people do though. Like I'm saying,
no.
as a content creator, people shouldn't do that.
They do, but like I almost go like, fine, just do it, but people will call it out. It will be hilarious when they do. So like, you know, it's like you're shooting yourself in the foot if you've already done that. So like the punishment is almost like the action of doing it itself, because it's just so dumb. You know, like why would like you if you're trying to build online, like the first thing you should do is you should try to get people to understand who you are, talk about who you are, understand your mission, understand what you're here to do, and then you're going to wind up attracting those people. I once did so this is actually pretty funny. I get your question, but like I kind of hate the word authenticity, because like I don't really think anybody's inauthentic on the internet. Like, and I'm just being real. Like seriously, I think like if that person who's living in the third world country woke up one day and was like, hey, I'm going to milk all of the X ad revenue from X, right? Like, and just post pictures of hot babes and be like, to me, $1 billion, then they actually defined what their purpose is on the internet. Now, now obviously it shows what country they're from, right? So like you can
Now
see,
it does. It didn't used
yeah,
to.
I understand that. But like, I mean, do you really believe everything that you see on the internet anyway? Like, let's say, like, right? So, like, there's also it plays both ways. It plays both ways. So, like, the whole thing is kind of like, okay, I get it. Like, be authentic on the internet, da 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 da. But like, what does that really even mean? It's like, so, like, you
build an
know,
audience that's not like in line. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say.
but then that's your own fault. For then you're going to wind up owning nothing.
I'm saying if you want to fail, the quickest way to fail is to build an audience that doesn't agree with you.
No, I disagree with that.
You do disagree with that? Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
There's tons of my audience that disagrees with me. That I think it's great to actually have a huge part of your audience disagree with you. There's
because they'll engage more. That is true.
No. Like, I'm gonna just take you back in time here, okay?
All right, go ahead.
I'm a lot older school. Back when I grew up, I'm from South Philly, okay? I'm from Philadelphia. All right. When I grew up in Philadelphia, and this is what used to happen in the 80s and 90s, people would have discussions with each other. Like there were no phones. Yeah, there were phones, right? But like old school phones, dialed like the road.
There's car phones,
right?
Yeah.
Well, this is how people would socialize back in the day. They would go outside, they'd go for a walk, they would talk to each other. They would talk to each other on the street corner. I know this is like such a foreign concept to people, but when I was a kid, people would all congregate outside. They'd walk around the neighborhood. They'd have discussions with people. They would talk to people. Everybody was like an open book, and people would have disagreements. They would have talks. People would talk to people that disagreed with them. In fact, if anything, we need more people that disagree with us to have conversations with us and to be able to talk with us, right? The Art of Memetics would be a good, I might have read that one book particularly. Yeah. So, there's a lot where it's like, this is just like the same old Catholic thinking where it's like, I'm only going to make content for Catholics.
That's not what
attract I know you're not saying that, but like, it's like along those lines where it's just like, don't say anything that's good. No, I want people who disagree with me to get engaged on my timeline. I want people who dislike me to engage with my stuff. I'm a student of Ben Settle, right? Like I love Ben Settle, email players. I'm actually in that community as well. Okay, he's one of the greatest marketers alive. Okay, there is no difference between love and hate. Okay, there's no difference from a marketing standpoint. There is no difference between love and hate. In the Bible, in Revelation, Jesus talks about the churches, right?
Okay, no lukewarm, right?
Which is the worst church, right? The worst church that exists is the one that is lukewarm. I spit you out, right? And so the worst audience that we're going to have is along those same lines. If you just have an audience that is lukewarm, doesn't care, that's the worst kind. I would rather have 80% of my audience throw tomatoes at me and think like, that is the worst take in the world. We need to have more discussion. I posted a meme once. I have some of the posts that are the most hated posts ever on the history of the internet. And I'm actually quite proud of these posts because I think they garnered discussion. One was a meme that I did with Dolly Parton, right? I was watching the Thanksgiving halftime show in Dallas. I'm from Texas, right? I was watching it. I'm eating cake, having a drink, and I'm watching this. And I'm watching this old woman get up on the camera and shake her, like, you know what? And I was thinking, like, how sad is this? Like, I'm sitting, this is my reaction to it. I'm like, how sad is this? Right. And like, I don't care what anybody has to say. Like, I have hot takes. That's just who I am. Like, the sad part is she doesn't have any kids. Like, she should be at home being a grandmother to some kids, having cookies, having turkey, being with a loving family, instead of like dancing herself and like putting herself on the stage at 70 something years old. It's just so ridiculous, right? When you think about it. So I made it a meme that shows that absurdity. It got something like 50 million views or something like crazy like that, and only like 1,000 likes. Was that a good post? Absolutely. In my opinion, it was. I got thousands and thousands and thousands of unfollows for it. Right. And the reason why is that sometimes you need to shake that audience out and let them know who you really are. Like, I put the mask off and I was like, look, man, these are my real values. Like, this to me is trash. Right. This shouldn't even be something that we see in culture. And there it is. It just hit them with such cognitive dissonance that it floored them. So yes, you can throw, it's like being a pitcher on the mound. You can throw fastballs, you can throw curveballs, you can throw changeups, right? You got to be able to gauge what your audience is and where they're at and what they're ready for and what they're ready for at a certain time. I talked about that interview I did with Zuby. Zuby back in 2020 talked about his most hated post of all time. That was his most successful post as well. So back in 2020, he started talking out against COVID, right? Publicly, right? When he started to do that, he had something like 25,000 followers. He instantly lost 10,000 followers that day. But what happened is because of that, he got himself the real people who were really behind what he was. He shook out all of the weak hands. He spit out the lukewarm, right? And those people who are there to engage with him. So I wouldn't like think about it being like, hey, am I being authentic, or am I going to talk about this? To me, everything's on the table. Everything's on the table. Where are we going to go today? Wherever I want to go. Okay. And so don't box yourself into like, I'm a niche creator who talks about this. I do this and That's boring. Okay. It's just, I'm sorry, it's boring. And so if you do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, I mean, come on, man. Like, at a certain point, it's just going to run its legs. But if you talk about who you are, what your values are, what your life is, and what you're doing in life, I don't care. When I started talking about being Catholic, I lost a lot of business at first. Okay. I had people leave my community. I had people no longer do business with me. I had people, serious, huge other accounts, no longer partner with me anymore. Okay. No longer. They removed me as partners for their programs. And these were huge other accounts, guys with millions of followers online, all because I talked about going back to church. Okay. But what happened was, even with that temporary setback, it was the best thing that I ever did for my business in the long run. It wound up being, I talk about it because it got the right people inside of our place. People who I can have people from different faiths as long as they respect my ideas. They can disagree with me. I know there's people who disagree with me, but it's all about human dignity and human respect and being able to, even if somebody disagrees with you, still see them as a human being as well. And we've lost a lot of that in our culture. It's sad, right?
Oh, absolutely. I think I guess maybe let's taking a step back. When I'm talking about authenticity, I'm not talking about niching yourself in a tiny box. Like that's a losing strategy. What I'm talking about is you're not like changing what you say to protect people's feelings. You're saying what you actually mean when you post. Does that make sense?
Right. I mean, it could just be
that's what I mean.
Lying, right? Like,
yeah. You need to not. If you want to build an audience, you should say what you're thinking, not maybe not all the time, but say what you're thinking, and not like correct it because you're trying not to hurt this or do that or do that. Because if you do that, eventually you put yourself in a box anyways.
Right. Well, mine is always like, don't lie, right? Because the whole point, I don't even think about it from an authentic. I just don't use
PC culture. PC culture.
I don't use authenticity as a concept really. Like, I think like purpose is a better one, because once you know who you are, you're just going to do what you need to do.
That makes sense.
But so that's why I'm not really like into that term. But the way that I think you're describing it is just flat out lying to your audience, which is like, the part
I think people do that.
I mean, yeah, but like the results, they're never going to make. But like, Crash, the thing that I would say to you is, are they really even successful people? Like, why? It should take no. They're like, it's no mental bandwidth for me. It's like, you know, it's like, yeah, there's guys that are lying to their audience. Okay, like you could say like maybe big influencers been able to be successful, but you guys don't know like how they had to sell their soul to get an XYZ spot. Right. So like you might go like, oh yeah, I'm not going to name names on here. Okay. But like, I'm talking huge podcasters. You might be like, well, that podcaster gets in front of there and they lie and they make up XYZ thing and they're doing XYZ, whatever for looks. Look, you don't understand what's going on there. Like this particular person may have been chosen to have a particular podcast. They're being seen by a certain aspect. People own a certain percentage of their business and they need to get whatever XYZ amount of revenue for it. Right. That doesn't mean you shouldn't be adopting that strategy. Like it's just so stupid. What we teach people to build online is authentic, like super based. You're going to be able to run your own, we call it business world, right? Like my wife, she works for me. Okay. She's retired. She homeschools and she works with our business. That's what she does. She's on our payroll. Her job is to cook and clean the house. Seriously. Right. That's what it should be, right? Like you should be building a business for building your own business world. If you want to talk about like the dark side of internet culture, I can talk about that as well. But like the world that people believe is on the internet is not what what it really actually is. But the way go ahead.
I guess one of the traps is that sometimes the algorithm is geared in such a way that it promotes content that is not in line with what you're doing. And so you can fall into the kind of similar to the audience capture, but it's more of an algorithm capture where you find a post that works and then you keep posting that because it works, not because you believe it. And that's the lying, but it's promoted by being paid for it. Like there's
right. I understand that as well. Right. So
like that can be difficult for people to navigate.
Really what you're doing is you're like making a Faustian deal like at a certain
Yes. There's a good way to phrase it.
So like what you're doing is like you're selling out your audience space so that you can promote whatever XYZ garbage is on the platform, right? Whatever like the trend of the day is. And so should people do that? Okay. Like, I mean, I could make an argument where it might be okay. Like, I guess like for someone who was like brand new at the game and doesn't really, I always think of it like the scene that I always think about is Sorcerer's Apprentice, right? From Fantasia with Mickey Mouse, right? So Mickey Mouse and that gets the wizard spell book, right? And Mickey Mouse, what happens is it's like, oh, you all should watch this. This is most of you guys on the internet, right? You're all Mickey Mouse. Okay. You go pick up the wizard's book and you're like, oh, wow, I've got access to this. And then what happens? They don't really know what they're doing. And so what happens is Mickey Mouse almost winds up drowning himself because he gets the spell book and does it again and again, just like some of you guys do with memes and stuff like that. And again, and again, and again, and again, and again. And then you wind up drowning from it, right? Again, it's like you're left with something that you don't even know. So a lot of those people who are doing those things, it really doesn't, I don't pay attention to any of those things because what you should be doing is you should be playing your game, your purpose, your world, your meaning. And if you're going to do those things, then you're going to be successful. I never complain. Like Matt Walsh is out there complaining like, oh man, they need to get rid of the Exide revenue because of so-and-so and so-and-so are abusing it. You know, I mean, with a few tweaks or if they can click a few buttons and allow people to block certain regions, we would be able to solve this, right?
Yeah, like, if you get location-based blocking, that'd be amazing.
Like we all know where those accounts come from, which is really funny, right? So, you know, they because this is what's funny because this is really funny, Crash, because like I think last year there were like literally people like doing like exposés on me saying that I was Indian or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with being Indian. I'm just going to say that's just
there's nothing wrong with being Indian.
Right. But there were people who were calling me this, right? Which I found kind of like offensive because I'm Italian, right? Like you better respect, like, you know what I'm saying? Like my Italian blood was flowing through me. Like what, dude, like, do you know who I am? You know? And so here's one of the reasons why is because Indians copy trends, right? All third world copies trends. And so what we usually
there's money to be made.
There's money to be made, right? So literally what we like to do as an account is we like to set trends and set memes, set trends, and be at the forefront of all of those things. Like we've set a lot of trends online. And so what happens is our stuff winds up getting There are literal, okay. So like, let's be real. There's an account like called Gigabase Dad, right? Have you ever seen this account?
Yeah.
Right? It's on X. It literally copies and pastes my memes, right? like half of its content is my stuff, right? Like I go on it, it's all my, I could care less, first of all. I'll tell you about why in a second. But there are so many accounts that just spam what we do. Naturally, somebody's going to go, oh, you are this too, because all of those people who are just spamming the game and getting on the back of a viral trend that we may have created makes us look like the one that is like,
it makes it almost boomerangs back, and then they feel like you're the copycat.
yes, it does.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of the reasons why I actually started posting memes on the internet was I used to just do like, you know, regular tweets, just text tweets and stuff like that. They would be like, I would tweet something within about 10 minutes. The same tweet would be on 5 other accounts. It was hilarious. Like we used to just like tweet some stuff, copy and paste. Somebody else would be able to like, this is one of the reasons that why you should shift more towards being authentic on the internet and a personality on the internet and yourself on the internet, because what you want to ultimately build is something that is uncopy pastable, right? So, you know, that's really, because this is with monetization and with trends and people wanting to pick up followers, is if you're going to, you know, and we've done this, right? Like we've had a lot of these viral things. What we like to do is we like to talk about how to create those viral trends, which is the most important part, being able to understand that, right? And then being able to like do that at will, replicate it, be able to do it again and again and again, not copy and pasting. Like I think like you know, like Luciferian energy is like so mimicky, right? Like, you know what I'm trying to say? It's like all copy and paste. It's all fake and phony, right? So, you know, you want to be the one that's at the front of that, not the one that's like replicating that one particular thing, you know?
Yep. Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's actually one of the reasons why when you interview somebody, it's almost better to go after a different aspect that nobody else has yet, because then you get to see a different side of that person. And then your interview is unique compared to the rest of the people that interviewed that person. That's kind of my take on podcasting is if you bring nothing new to the table by interviewing the same person, there's no point to interview that person.
Right. So, but you should look at what has been successful for them. And then
yeah, that too, for sure.
Yeah. And then maybe like go like yes and stuff XYZ. The way that I see it though is like, you know, if you want to, the quickest way to succeed really is to like look at what another person doing and just copy it.
Well, yeah, copying something will give you some level of notoriety.
It will, but right, it's not going to allow you to build something that lasts, right? So
you can't outdo the original, generally.
Right. Well, this is actually
by copying,
because when I in my community, like I always, one of the biggest questions I guess, like somebody copied and pasted this, somebody stole my thing, somebody did this to me, right? And I go, that's awesome. Somebody stole one of your posts, somebody copied and pasted your email or article or whatever. That means that you are doing something successful, right?
Yep.
Like if somebody went out of their way to, so like with all of these like Gigabase, it's so funny because like these guys, they would always go like, do you care about like this Gigabase Dad or like these other people who are doing all of those things and just copying and pasting all that you do? No, I go, that's a tribute. That's a tribute to me. That's a tribute to what we do. When I started to get big, there were all of these accounts doing the general outfit as well, which okay. So wait, think about this for a second, Crash. Okay. You got to think about human psychology, right? Whose brand were they growing? Theirs or mine? Right? If you were to copy somebody's aesthetic, somebody's soul, somebody's vibe, somebody's content, and you were to copy and paste it and put it out into the world, they're doing you a favor, because what they're really doing is that they're building an audience that is going to be eventually seeing you, the real thing, and then you're going to siphon them and get them as well. So
because they're actually building your brand without realizing it.
Yes, they're building your brand without even. So that's what I tell people. It's like, if you're going to, it's like, you know, Dan Coe is out there, right? Dan Coe is a big content creator. There's all these other wannabe Dan Coes that are out there, right? It's like, why would you copy and paste his entire aesthetic, right? What you're doing is you're actually growing his brand, not yours. And like people will judge you on this too. Like they'll look at it like people are judgmental on the internet, guys. Okay. Just
no, really?
Oh yeah, you know.
You sure about that?
Sure. But they're gonna go, oh, that's the copy guy of this. It's like what did somebody call me? The diet version of Tim Pool when we first got started on. Except like I actually have real opinions, right? So right. So you know, the
no shame, Tim. No shame.
I mean, I hope is Tim watching? I don't know. But, you know, would you have, no shame, Tim, right? But what you have is you have people who are, you know, if they're doing all of those things and they're copying those things, it's actually a really good thing for you guys.
Yeah, 100%. And we addressed this earlier, but I'm just going to post it real quick. He's like, when did you decide to cut back on some of the slot posts? I think
Can I talk about this? Can I talk about this?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, for you, I am going to go on slot post mode, hardcore for the next week. Off.
Every day is this a win? Is this
now we are going no, but in a way, sometimes I do that though. It's like sometimes I go like, you know, I'll post something really good and then it'll get like 50 likes and then I'll do a slot post just for fun. Elon will like it and then I'll be like, all right, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to do it again. People get mad about it and then I keep doing it. But here's one thing I want you guys to think about. It's like, I really liked going on to Substack. Like I actually really I do memes and I do a lot of short form content, but I love writing articles. Like I love going deeper into things. I love doing podcasts. I actually do a lot of spaces as well. So when I started my Substack, it just made me think of content from like a different perspective because I just started to write long and I just started to go more into detail, talking about like Plato's caves, talking about psychology, talking about some of the things going on in the church world and business and money as well, and stuff like that, all different kinds of things. I talk about all different kinds of things. So when I started doing that, it's like, I think it just opened things up a little bit for me. Come on, like, you know, I think it's okay to do a slot post every now and then. I think it's fun. Okay. I like doing one of those things. It opens you up to another completely different audience and it makes you a little bit unpredictable. And I like doing things that there's a few memes that I have posted that people hate so much. And then, so like, I asked, he was like, why do you hate it so much? It's like, does it really make you that upset? Like this one meme, like the one meme that I did with Ty Tot and his family. Okay. I don't know if you guys know this. That triggered people so hard. They could not tell if I was being serious or not. There were people like thinking I'm being like 3-year Letterman and being like satire. But the thing is that like, you know, sometimes
that account's hilarious, by the way.
That account is hilarious, right? Because it makes us laugh at ourselves a little bit, right? And so sometimes I'll post something that you might call it inauthentic, okay? I may or may not agree with it, but sometimes I serve things up because I want people to discuss it. Does that make sense?
No, it does. It does.
I mean, when you have a certain platform about XYZ, so like I may not like even 100% endorse this one particular.
There's a devil's advocate aspect to it.
Yeah, well, you know, I think
because it's easier to get people to talk about something when you post kind of the opposite of what's the popular opinion.
I think it's great to have interesting conversations, right? That's what X is about. That's what X is great for, is for having public debates out in public with people. So like, I mean, if you go online and you're just like, I want to go online and I want everything to agree with my Plato's cave. Like I want everything to be exactly the way that I see the world. What's wrong with like having a discussion about XYZ that you may not totally agree with, or like make you upset, or like when some people were, you know, talking to me, I'm not going to mention other guys, whatever, but you know, like, oh, what do you think of this movement or that movement? Or, you know, why is it that we live in such a polarized world developed through these algorithms? That why is it that I can't respect someone and have like a sense of like human dignity for someone because they have a certain idea that's just a little bit off of what we may believe to be completely true, right? You know, I
think when people are close to the same opinion as you, it's almost harder because you feel like, well, why won't you go that extra inch with me and be in the same spot I am? And then that those little disagreements almost create more of a feud than the big disagreements. Because if somebody's just on a totally polar opposite end of a spectrum that you are on, you just know you don't agree, and that's fine. And people recognize like, okay, this person thinks that the blue-haired women at the Women's March in Washington, D.C. are great people. I just don't agree with them, and that's fine. But then when you guys are like both sanctity of life, everything else, and one person says we need to put, I don't know, women who get abortions in jail, and the other person's like, no, we need to push the abortionists in jail. Then you're like so close but so far, and then that becomes a huge disagreement.
Right. It's like so, but like the thing that I like to say though is, why does it even bother you in the first place? Like, you know, like you don't know me. Like I'm just like people who are getting like so bent out of shape over XYZ post or whatever it is. It's like why? Like it's just the internet, guys. Like we're just guys posting on the internet. Like, you know what I'm saying? We're just guys posting on the internet talking about things that we love to talk about. I like to talk about a lot of different things. Maybe you don't have the exact same opinion as I do about XYZ. Okay. It's not the end of the world. But I think that everybody feels like we have this world where this is why I tell people to make their content their life, right? At the end of the day, just make your content your life. I think people go to public schools. Man, we didn't even go down that alley.
We should go down that alley quickly, though.
Let's go down this alley in a second. But people go, well, this is a good segue. People go to brainwashing camps called public schools, right? They go to their government public schools and they tell them, everybody must think the same way. A, B, C. This, they have like all the mumbo jumbo.
It's funny that you say that. One of my most liberal teachers ever was actually one of the best at playing devil's advocate in this like debate class I was in, which it was really incredible because all the kids were super liberal. And when I was in, because I went to public school, guys. Okay, I can speak from.
Yeah, but was she like doing that to like pace the?
It wasn't a woman.
Oh, was he?
It was a guy. Yeah. I'm not gonna call out who it was.
Like,
this guy has since been kind of went off the deep end on me. When I was in his class,
of course, because what he really was doing was he was using a pacing and leading technique to be like, hey, I can agree with you. I agree with you. Da 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 da. And then like have the other people state it and da 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 da. But look, I mean, the deal with public schools is that you're gonna walk out of there thinking that everybody has to see the world the same way as you, right? If you don't agree with this, you don't say XYZ. Everybody's walking. When you work a job, it's like everybody walks on eggshells. That's not reality, okay? That's not reality, right? And so when I get on the internet, I have one goal every single day to go on the internet. I just want to have fun. I want to talk to people. I want to meet new cool people. That's like literally my goal every single day, man. Like I just like a day accomplished because I met you today, right? And like, well, last weekend, but
right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? But like my goal is to I love like learning new things and meeting new people and talking to new people. It's not where it's like when I went on Redeem Zoomer's podcast, I don't go, Redeem Zoomer, like you don't believe in like imagery and icons and stuff like that, like it's like you're dumb, like what I'm saying. It's just like
that doesn't go anywhere. The hardest thing with Protestants is you can if you're uncharitable about how you correct them or how you handle things, a lot of times they'll just dismiss you.
Yeah, but like
so like if you play the game,
if you're uncharitable to them, there's something wrong with you. I'm being serious about it.
I don't disagree with you. What I'm getting at though is if you come at them with the fraternal correction you give to like your friends who are already Catholic and you don't know these people, they're just going to completely ignore you.
I agree.
An uncharitable, you got to kind of build a charitable relationship with people before they'll listen to you.
Yes, it's common sense.
but people forget that on the internet.
Okay, so guys, if you've ever read the book Influence by Robert Cialdini, right? Have you guys ever, I don't know if you've ever read that or not, but it's one of the best books about understanding persuasion. Okay. So if you read, anybody in here who's really serious about this, you should read Cialdini's book. I know it's a little bit of a meme because like Scott Adams talked about it a long time ago, right? But I've read it. Okay. And so the first chapter has one of the best lessons in persuasion of all time, right? It was an experiment that was conducted back in the 70s where they put like a turkey and a polecat.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about right now?
Yes.
Yeah. So most of you guys, this is a lesson about human nature itself through animals, right? So turkey and a polecat are two adversaries with each other, natural adversaries. Whenever a turkey sees a polecat, they freak out, they gang up on it, and they bum rush it, and they try to attack it, right? So what they did in this experiment was they strapped a cassette tape recorder with a tape of recordings of the turkey, right? Of a turkey, right? Making chirp, chirp sounds. Okay. And so they put it on the back of this animal, right? And they let it right into the turkeys, and the turkeys acted like it was one of their own. Okay. So right there, it's like there's a lesson in persuasion that's right there. Even evangelization. You don't walk, you talk other people's languages, right? You talk, right?
Yeah, not everybody's going to be a Thomas Aquinas theologian. If you want to evangelize construction workers and you walk in wearing a tweed jacket, you're probably not going to get very far.
No, you should go into there and talk about their family. You should talk about, you know what I'm saying? You'd be like, oh man, you love your kids, like that, what, you should.
That's why Anthony from Avoiding Babylon is so effective, because he talks like a blue collar worker. and
Exactly.
he appeals to them.
He's from New York, right? So
Yep.
like,
He's
I
a New
think
York Italian construction worker guy.
I know. So I didn't know he's a construction worker, but
Well, he was. I think now he's more in management, although
okay.
he still goes to construction
Well,
sites in LA.
I'm Italian. I'm from one of the big cities on the East Coast. So it's like I understand exactly how this operates. And it's like you don't invite people into your home and then like start insulting them. Like, do you know what I'm trying? It's like this is how some of you guys operate on the internet, or just like, I don't know. And I do think some of the people here, and of course, like on both sides, they're just like trying to like get clicks on their pages as well, which is kind of
If you could be the based guy by insulting the Protestant who showed up here in the live stream, like, yeah, that's super based. You're really going to convince them to join the Catholic faith.
Yeah, but as we're talking about this, is I went to Catholic school, right? Like I want to like talk a little bit about
Yeah, let's get into that.
I think it's something that's a little bit underappreciated in society, and I was at like one of those schools where all the scandals were happening as well. Okay, so while I was there, all of that was going on, like major scandals. The high school I went through massive. We were the second largest high school in the United States, private high school in the United States at the time, and like their enrollment has gone down by like 75% since then. But I was there like during all of those things that were going on. But I think back and I look back on it on like how many good things that I learned while I was there, even though I wasn't really paying attention or like really interested in it at the time.
Right. A lot of us weren't, right?
Right. I mean, obviously, right. So it's like, you go through life, but like it plants a seed in you that is just so important. I taught public school for 20 years. I have a master's degree in education. Okay. I've talked about this. What's going on inside of public schools is worse than what anyone can imagine. I'm just telling you this right now. I taught up until 2021, right? That's when I retired from teaching. And my last year there, I had to go back to the classroom, and it was such a mess. It was an absolute disaster. It was so wild. It was so crazy. Just from what you were seeing and witnessing, it was like just so bad. And, there was a lot of like woke culture flowing through public schools before that. I think
if you are a band teacher, that seems to attract a lot of the woke culture.
Yeah,
at least in this area, I've noticed at least in this,
not my area, not in
well,
my
that's
area.
lucky. You're lucky because every band
Actually,
in this area
did like the hardest workers, but like I live in Texas though, which is
Texas is it's
a little different. It's like very competitive state.
It's like Jesus, football, and church.
Yeah, like band's part of football. Like you have all of that culture. So you have when I was there though, there was so much. There was a slow deterioration from this. Wow. Back in 2019, they made us do a privilege walk at the school.
What?
So yeah,
oh man,
here's like me, like like they have us come in, right? They have these representatives from Pearson Education come in from California, show up, and they come into our school. It's like, and they do this like before school starts. Like there's like these meetings the teachers have to go to before the school. So I'm showing up to this is 19, and they make us all go to the gym. They line us up. It's like, take 2 steps forward if you're white.
Oh, so this is almost like one of those in-services, basically.
It was an insert, right?
Okay,
so that makes it like, take a step back if you take a step forward if you went to have a master's degree. Take it, and like the whole point of all of these things is just to divide people into own little like little identity groups that are out there, just so that you can destroy them later on. And so when you had COVID hit right after that, there's like obviously like no morale in any of these schools. It's just like, all right, we're just going to let the kids do whatever they want to do. And so what you have right now is just literally, and this was going on even when I was there as well, it's just like pass them on to the next grade. Nobody cares. There's absolutely no discipline. None of that stuff is happening. There are no values being taught to anyone in public schools, right? None.
No, literally none. So I've coached various teams over the years, and I can always tell which kids are homeschooled, which kids went to Catholic school, and which kids are public school, because the behavior is they're just completely different.
Yeah. So, I went to Catholic school, and it was like, I had nuns teaching my classes, right? And it would be like, you're not going to argue with one of them, right? Pick up a Bible and be like, there's the level of the difference between like what is acceptable in like a Catholic or even a private school, right? Versus what's acceptable at a public school. It's just like so night and day. It's like not even funny, right? And, and my wife was teaching too. She taught too. She was an art teacher as well. She like taught for 1 year longer than I did, and like her last year, she taught elementary school. They were having to like, if a kid said like, "Oh, I identify as this sex," they
And
would
you had to respect it, right?
exactly. This is the stuff that's going on in schools right now at an elementary school level, man. Like the culture is so screwed up because we haven't evangelized. We haven't done what our job is supposed to be. We haven't promoted Catholic schools. I think the problem with, and I'm part of the fault too, because you know what? When things started to go down inside the Catholic schools and stuff like that, there were a lot of people that used it as an opportunity to leave the church. Okay.
They did.
There were a lot of people, or they weren't in the church and they were never going to come back because that sold them on it, that this was like an evil organization or whatever.
But yeah, it's an easy cop out for anybody who just doesn't want to even explore that option.
It is. And so what people really need to do is they need, like, things are in a current state because of what we've done, right?
Yep.
Because of the values that we've promoted, because we didn't work as hard at that. This is what we should have done. We didn't give to our church like we needed to. We didn't, we just didn't commit and live the word seriously enough. And so we find ourselves in this situation because of generation after generation after generation slowly doing this over time. And so this is where we're at right now. This is why, right, it's so important for us to evangelize. We need to go like right for leaders immediately instead of fighting each other online. Like, it's just like absolutely ridiculous. We need to be influencing culture. We need to be building institutions. We need to be doing all of those things that we haven't been doing for years and years and years and years, or it's just going to be just too late. We're just going to be completely lost at some point. If you're Catholic, I just don't know how. I really, knowing what I know, you cannot send your kids to public school. Like, it's just.
My wife was also a public school teacher at one point.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, she did 8th grade science.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time maybe when I first started, it was okay, like at best, but it's just a dramatic difference between. We need to be building more Catholic schools in this country.
We should. Honestly, it's the quickest way to get kids, not to get. Well, I mean, it is, because parents are more likely to send their kids to a Catholic school if it exists in their area, and then if they're sending their kids to Catholic school, their kids are going to go to church. It's flat out. That's what's going to happen. Absolutely. And it builds a foundation for those kids.
Absolutely. Like we need these. We need these. When we look in Texas, you look around and you see, like, you might have heard on the news or something like that, or on the web, like there's the Muslims that are buying up this land in Texas and doing building these compounds. It's like, why aren't we doing these things? Like, why are we not doing these things? We're just not probably because we're just not pushing ourselves like the way that we need to be pushing ourselves. We're not using our God-given talent like the way that we need to be using ourselves. It's sad, but like, we need to start waking up before it's too late.
Here's an interesting quote from a book I was reading. You might appreciate this, may not, but there's a quote. It was actually during World War II. I think it was stated by somebody close to the Pope or in the church, but they said the Reformation had been a grave error because the decline of the church had allowed the rise of the absolute state.
Right. Yeah.
And I think that's what we're kind of seeing with some of the especially with the woke stuff, is when the church declines, then whatever the flavor of the institution that fills in that gap takes over. I mean, and then you end up with an institutional capture across the board.
Correct. Right. And that's where we find ourselves now. And now we're at the brink of AI, right? Like a whole nother industrial revolution. And literally none of these people are Christian. Like zero of these people are Christian. And we're looking at this, and now that's why your timeline is like AI slop, grok slop, pornography all over this, where, it's just, you guys talk about me posting slop. Like, you should be grateful, man. Like, I mean, look at this other stuff that's being pushed on the timeline. It's like so bad that it's like, it's crazy. It's just absolutely crazy. It's like absolute filth and trash. And why? Because the people who run all of the institutions in our country, none of them, they're not even Christians. Okay. So, maybe like having a discussion about it. So like, people were asking me about like the whole Elon Musk. So if you guys don't know, like, Elon Musk replied to my post where it was like news, like he was talking. I said, who is going to step up and lead Elon Musk? Notice it was a question, by the way. Okay.
Yeah.
right? It's a question where everybody's going to view themselves as the savior, right? Like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it, right? So it got like 1,000 responses because everybody wants to be the guy, right? Cool. And then so like he sees it and it gets pushed to his timeline where he actually has that conversation. The point of that post wasn't just to get Elon to respond back to that and to have that conversation. The point of the post was for other people who weren't Christian, who were then going to see that post and then see Elon Musk even think about doing it. Right. That was the real magic in whatever that was. It was like, oh, wow. Like if Elon's thinking about it, maybe I'll pick up a Bible for the first time. This is why I have a lot of people message me. Man, it's like for the first time I went to a church and I was so blown away by how real the people were there and how warm and how genuine they were. Can you imagine if Catholics online acted like the warm and genuine individuals that you see in church? Like, it's just like you would blow people away with your kindness. Right. And so what you got to do here is you got to operate at like a complete different level and pierce people's hearts is what you need to do. And, it's just everything else is just a distraction. And so just having Elon have those conversations with us is getting other people to think about it. And we need to start pushing we need to start demanding from our leaders that I don't think it's out of the realm. We need to start demanding that our leaders start taking this seriously, or at least contemplate the readings in the Bible.
100%. And honestly, for those of you that are not social media influencers, something as simple as keeping a rosary or a Bible at your desk, if you got a workplace that you go to every day, could be just enough of an influence on somebody else. I've had people approach me where I work, and I'm not going to say where I work because I don't want people to find that, but they come to my desk, they see like things that are Christian, and they're like, tell me about that. And then that opens the door, and I've got people that are going to mass who weren't going to mass before they talked to me. And it's a simple influence. Something like that could make a difference for a lot of people.
That's what memetics is, right? People learn through in our brains, the way that we work, right? At the lowest levels, we imitate other people, right? This is how babies learn, right? That's what memetics actually really is. It's miming. It's imitating. It's imitating what you see. So like when I wanted to get people to go to church, do you know how I went about this? I didn't say like, go to church. I started talking about me going to church, right? And how I was blown away with how many people were in church. Everybody was there. Like you were missing out on this if you didn't do it. Like, oh my God. And actually that was
posting aesthetics and beauty.
That was really happening, right? Yeah. And posting like beautiful things, packed churches. If you want people to go to church, you talk about it in public. You talk about how many people are there. You talk about, oh, we're doing these things afterwards. We're doing all of you talk about it positively. Then people start to imitate that behavior. They get interested in it as well. They go, oh, whoa, they're doing this, they're doing these things. Maybe I should do that too. I hadn't even thought about doing it, right? And then when you talk about it from that perspective, you're going to get a far better result than like being like, you're bad if you don't do this, or you're going to hell if you don't do this. I understand all of those arguments, but it's like, that's not going to get somebody to like think about it in a way being like, oh, I lived in Miami for a long time. I went to the University of Miami. Okay. And one thing that I learned is like, there were so many parties that were at that school. It was a very, very big, it's in Miami. Okay. So one thing that would always happen is at the end of every weekend, everybody would always talk about like their thing was like the biggest thing in the world. Like New Yorkers do this well too. It's like, oh man, like this thing, you missed out on this thing. Like, that's how we should be talking about church. Like you missed out on church. Like church is like the best thing in the world. Why wouldn't you want to go? It really is the greatest thing. I look forward to Sunday more than anything.
Oh yeah, 100%. And FOMO does sell people on things.
It does. Yeah. And we need to have that kind of energy and spirit online. That's what we need to be doing, brother.
Yeah, because if you act like church is some boring thing you do on Sunday, that's not going to get people to go with you.
No, like people are attracted to other people and what their energy and what they're doing. And like, hey, we're having the best time here. We're doing these things. We're going there. That's what Catholics should be doing online. They should be talking about like OCIA, talking about how big their classes are, talking about how many people are going to church, what they're doing, all of these things, talking about what they're reading or what they're doing. And then people will start imitating that kind of behavior in the long run. That's it.
All right. So tell me about this masterclass for anybody that's interested in it.
Well, masterclass is our community. You guys are interested in it. It's masterclass247.com. It's our social media community. We celebrated our 5-year anniversary. If you've been enjoying some of the conversation that we've had talking about social media, digital strategy systems that we use. We have about 425 plus members inside of our community. It is, I call it the best social media community in the world. This is for people who are like, this isn't for like the guy who was, you were mentioning, was like, I got 5 followers and I'm up by 5 followers. It's not for you. It's for people who are like, hey, I want to build something really big online. I want to lead a movement, tens, hundreds of thousands of followers, or like, hey, we want to release books or something like that, or do XYZ. We have a lot of people who are in the Catholic community who are in Masterclass. Actually, there are some really huge Catholic accounts that are actually inside of Masterclass. So, and we've helped them launch their books and their offers and whatever they're doing. But these are for the people who want to build like a business. Y'all are welcome to join. I'm running this live right now. We're actually running free trials up until midnight. So like, if you are here and you just want to come check it out, you can go to masterclass247.com, like literally right now, because I opened them up for our 5-year anniversary. And it's just a place where we're going to build. It's a way for you guys to network so that you can understand how social.
Did I type that right?
Masterclass247.com. Yeah. If you guys just want, look, you guys can go in there and you can be like, Dino, that is the worst place I have ever been to in my life. One thing that we're going to do, guys, is that was the word. You can cancel it. It's like no harm, no foul. We're going to be doing something cool this weekend as well. We're going to have a long form writing challenge this weekend where we're actually going to be hosting a session where we're going to help you come up with ideas for posts, like what to write. So if you guys are like, hey, I'm like building a Substack or something like that, or I want to write articles on X. I had an X article that did 3 million views that was retweeted by Elon Musk. I've written another one. I wrote the one that I wrote, ban porn on X, got over 1 million views as well. Elon did not retweet that one. Okay. But we're going to be teaching.
We're working on that with Elon.
We're going to be showing people our systems for like how to come up with like long form content ideas. If you're somebody who's like, man, I don't even know how to get started with doing XYZ, you'll love it. You'll check it out. You can use our resources. And if you don't like it, you can bail out. No problem. No harm, no foul. Yeah, check it out. But I encourage all Catholics to check it out because you want to arm yourself with as much knowledge as possible. If you're serious about this, if you're serious about building online, there is no downside to checking it out, and you're going to meet a whole bunch of other creators. Arm yourself with the information so that you can make yourself more effective on the internet.
Yeah. And I've checked it out too. There's a lot of really cool people in there. I can say from firsthand experience, there's a lot of cool people in there. Absolutely, brother. I appreciate you having me on, man. Yeah. Do you have any questions for me before we wrap this up? No, brother. No, man. I enjoyed this conversation. My question is Italy beating Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic? I have no idea. Oh man, that's where we're at right now. It's like I'm like trying to figure that out. Oh man, I don't know. Like, of course, like it's not. I don't even see the score, man. Oh man. Yeah, I had a lot of people at work were talking about the March Madness, so that was what I was hearing about. Oh, I'm like a huge baseball guy. I love baseball. I don't know. That's just something about me that's weird like that. But I appreciate you having me on, brother. Like, anytime, let me know, and we'll post this inside of our community as well when you put it out there. All right, man. Well, on that note, I'll see you guys again tomorrow. We're having Keith Nestor on, and I appreciate Dino coming on and hanging out and telling everybody about Masterclass, the algorithm X, all the crazy stuff online that people don't seem to see the inner workings of. And maybe you guys have a better idea of how that all works after listening to him talk about all that. So as Catholics, we appreciate learning and getting better at things like the algorithm and reaching more people, because that's what we need to do. If St. Paul was alive today, he'd be on Twitter. He would be. He'd be on X. He'd be on X. You're right. Sorry. He'd be on X. He would be on X, and he would have something to say. I would know it, and he would be he would be an account that I would follow. I would really enjoy his content. But I appreciate you having me on, brother. Absolutely. And on that note, we're going to wrap it up, and hopefully you guys all enjoyed this and stick around and subscribe and do all the cool stuff that the algorithm tells you to do. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye, Thank you. Have a great day, man.